Oh my goodness, you guys. Welcome to the Savvy Stylist Podcast. I am your host, Amy Walker. I am just so excited to be here with you guys today. I can't believe that this is actually happening and coming to life. This has been 20 years in the making. And I'm just so grateful to you for being here listening. I am so honored to be your host. My name is Amy Walker. I have been a hairdresser for 20 years. This is just in my blood. It is who I am. And my story is interesting. It's been dynamic. It's been a bit of a roller coaster ride, if we're being honest. So, as episode number one, marking the beginning of something really incredible, I am going to share today with you who I am, what my journey has been, and what you can expect coming forward with the Savvy Stylist podcast. So, this is truly a space for me to pour my 20 plus years of lived in experience, all different parts of the beauty industry, continuing on in where I am now, which I'll explain in just a little bit. This is about empowering hairdressers. This is about helping stylists fall in love with the industry, with their career. This is about helping hairdressers make money, fill their books with clients that they actually love and desire to have, and with people in hair and work that they get so excited to do every single day that they show up into the salon. This is about working smarter, not harder. And this is just about finding your place in the industry, having a community of support, pouring into you guys, answering your questions, talking about the uncomfortable things, the parts of this industry that are so incredible, but that are so tricky and can be hard to navigate and can make us uncomfortable. And I want to help you get uncomfortable being a little bit uncomfortable so that you can grow your business to exactly what it is that you want it to be, what you dream of, what you see for yourself. And I want you to know and understand why I'm here with you today. And I want you to believe and trust and know that everything that I'm sharing with you comes from a place of experience. It comes from being in this industry for professionally for 20 years, but since I was a kid working in my auntie's salon, this has been my life's work. And I feel so honored and so grateful for my journey, even though it has been a bit of a wild ride, with lots of ups and downs and in different parts of the industry over the last 20 plus years. I feel so grateful to all of that now because I can now sit here and confidently have these conversations with you, share what worked, what didn't work, how I built my clientele, how I built a successful career, what I see now in the industry, the changes that are coming, the changes that have happened, and to really just help support you guys. As we go along in this podcast, I will likely have other artists and professionals in this industry join me. I've got a lot of really incredible things that I want to bring to the table for you. But for today, for episode one, I need you to know who I am. I need you to know my backstory, and I need you to know that when I bring this to you, it is coming from such a place of love and experience that you just lean in and listen and want more. So let's dive in. I have been in this industry what feels like my whole life. I grew up around hairdressers. My aunt was a hairdresser. Actually, two of my aunties were hairdressers. My uncle was in the hair industry. I lived this life. When I was a really little girl, I thought that I wanted to be a veterinarian because I loved animals and I felt like, oh my gosh, how incredible would that be if I could work with animals every single day? And how neat would that be? And then I got to middle school in science class and had to dissect a frog and realized very quickly that there was zero part of me that actually wanted to do that job. I just wanted to love animals. And so really quickly in that time frame, I spent a summer with my aunt in her home salon and I just got to hang out and see what it was all about and help her out a bit. And it really lit a fire in me that has burned fiercely ever since I was a little girl. And fast forward to high school, I did a work experience in a salon here in my hometown of Cranbrook, British Columbia, here in Canada. And it was the piece that solidified me moving forward in on this journey. It was the piece that made it so clear to me that this was absolutely the industry that I needed to be in, that I wanted to be in. And so I researched schools, I got my applications in, I got accepted. And literally about 3 weeks after I graduated high school, I moved to Calgary, Alberta with my best friend, and we went to hair school together. That was really the beginning of my professional career. I went on to, I did my apprenticeship in Alberta. I moved back to British Columbia, wrote my BC license. At the time, that still was a thing that we will talk about later in this podcast. But I am a licensed hairdresser. I went on to do work in all areas of the industry. I worked as an employee of, I was a chair renter, I was a commission stylist. I went on to educate with Paul Mitchell. I became an educator, spent a couple of years traveling around BC, Alberta, Saskatchewan, Manitoba, teaching. Realized quickly that my true passion and love at that point in time was being behind the chair. And so I gave that up to be full-time behind the chair, went on to help manage a salon, beautiful salon that I worked in for 10 years, worked my way up there. And then when my husband and I had our first daughter, we really sat down and looked at what we wanted our life to look like. What He works away in northern Alberta in the oil and gas industry. And so we really just had to like sit down and think about what was that going to look like for us with him being away and us having a baby and me wanting to go back to the work that I loved so much. And that really birthed Lux and Lace Hair Boutique, which was my salon. Again, my best friend, same best friend that I went to hair school with. She's been my ride or die my whole freaking life, it feels like. And so I opened this beautiful little boutique for her and I. It was just the two of us. And it was amazing. And shortly after that, we had our second daughter. And really shortly after that, I started with some pretty significant health issues. And this is really where this is kind of the beginning of the story of how all of this, the Savvy Stylist podcast, the soul centric stylist coaching, the where I am right now in business, this all essentially started in that moment, although I didn't realize it at the time. And so in 2019, was diagnosed with an autoimmune condition. Beginning of 2020, I started having a lot of wrist issues, which would be the beginning of a journey of 3 different surgeries on my wrist and my arm that ultimately led to me stepping away from working behind the chair. So I I ended up 2020, the beginning of 2020 was the beginning of my health journey and health struggles. 2020, we all know the world shut down, and so did my salon. And that was the point where I really started to lean into social media and building a presence. Um, but it also was the beginning of leading up to my first surgery on my wrist. In that same time frame, my autoimmune condition went wild. I really struggled. Once the world sort of opened back up a bit and my salon was able to be open again, I really was struggling. I was struggling with a lot of nerve pain. I was struggling with a lot of joint pain. I have a condition called Sjogren's. And really quickly, without getting into a lot of that, if you're not familiar, it's typically a secondary autoimmune condition to things like lupus, rheumatoid arthritis. So I struggled with a lot of symptoms of things that I wasn't diagnosed with. And I was treated for things that I was diagnosed for but didn't have symptoms of. It's very complicated. And in this time, I ended up with torn cartilage in my wrist. So my first two, if you're watching this video live and not just listening, I have two tiny little scars on the top of my wrist, and there's a very large scar down my arm, which the first surgery only was about half of that. So the first surgery, it was about 3 inches of an incision to repair that. That surgery took me 10 months. 10 months to recover from, which when you are a self-employed hairdresser, 10 months away from your business is can be crushing. It can be shattering. It can be the end of the end. And in that time, I really had to get creative of how to continue generating income within my business so that I could survive and we could pay our bills and that I had a business to come back to. So those are, things that we will get into later on in later episodes. But I got back to working. We got my autoimmune somewhat under control. I started working again, realized very quickly that my injuries were not totally fixed from the first surgery. This would lead into a second surgery where they actually had to shorten my ulnar bone, which is why I have this ginormous scar on my arm, down the side of my arm. I had a plate with 7 screws put in. That took me out for another 5 months from the salon. And it was at that point in that time that I really had to relook at what my career inside this industry that I was so passionate about, that I am so passionate about, what that looked like, what was next, how was I going to yet again pivot and figure this all out. And it really was the point when I had to really revisit who I was, what I was going to do, how I was going to turn my life's work and passion into something super meaningful and still help provide for our family, still help contribute financially and what I was going to do there. So that was the point where I just before my second surgery, I had taken a position as a sales consultant in my area, covering a beautiful territory. And although at the time I kind of felt like, okay, this is good for now. This is going to help me pay the bills. This keeps me in the industry. I can kind of figure out what I'm doing. I had hired another stylist to be in the salon, just, to keep things running, to keep my guests, my clients who I'd had for some of them 15 years had a home to still stay at. And that was really important to me, that they could still come and have their experiences, be in my presence, and still feel like they had a home. And so that I could still feel like I had a home there, because that felt like my home. That was my husband and I, we put so much into building that salon, and it just felt like every corner was like true essence of me and who I am and the vision that I saw and what I wanted to create for people. And so it was when I started as a sales consultant that I really realized that there was some massive gaps in our industry, that there was some massive struggles that people were dealing with. And it really kind of birthed this idea of bringing my education, bringing my knowledge, bringing my 20 years of lived experience in this industry as a professional who had a very successful career to you, to my listeners, to my fellow coworkers, to the new hairdressers coming out of school, trying to navigate the world. 2020 changed our industry, and it has not been the same since. And the way that we do things and the way that we approach things and the way that we grow our businesses and make money, it's all changed. And it's not a bad thing. It's just a learning curve. And that is where really the Savvy Stylist has come to life. And it is really where I have turned my passion, is from being the actual hairdresser behind the chair, although there are many days where I just want to have a salon again so that I can actually be that person behind the chair again. That is a conversation for another day. Although it's what led me to this place. And there is so much more to dive into and to unpack and to explain to you. And I can't wait to get into so much more of that as we go. Here's what I want to leave you with today. I don't want this to be a long, drawn out story time about me. I did want it to be a bit of a story so that you would understand who I am. You'd get to know me a little bit. I'm a mom. I have two beautiful little girls who are 8 and 6, almost 6. I have an incredible husband. We have been married for, it will be 11 years this year. I had to think about that for a second. We have this beautiful life here. And I'm also very passionately a hairdresser. This is my life's work. This is what I'm bringing to the world. And I want to bring to you so much more than the work behind the chair. So much more than just the building of the business, which we're going to talk a lot about, because that is the foundation that we need to build. But there's so much to this industry, and there's so many complexities to us as beauty industry professionals that is just not talked about. And there is a massive level of burnout happening in our industry, and I see it so consistently when I am going into these salons and spas and talking to the business owners and the chair renters and the employees. And we need to change that, because this is an incredible industry. And I want you listening to this episode right now, you watching this video right now, I want you to know that genuinely from the bottom of my heart, I am going to give you as much as humanly possible so that you can have the most beautiful, juicy, fabulous career, whatever that looks like for you as an individual. I am here to help you navigate that for your life. And we're going to dive into so many juicy topics, and I'm so freaking excited for this. For today, just know that I'm so grateful that you are here. I love you. You will hear me say this a lot. This is something that I want you to know about me. I had a mentor for quite a few years that I leaned in very heavily to on a personal development level. And she always said, and if you follow me anywhere on social media, you've probably heard me say this before. I end all of my lives with it because it just resonates so deeply with me. And she always said this. She always said, if people can choose to hate in this world for no reason, I can choose to love for no reason. And that has stuck with me in my heart, in my soul, in the essence of my being since the moment I heard it. So I love you because I can. And I want you to know that somebody in this world deeply, deeply believes in you and is truly here to see you win, to see you succeed. And it is literally what lights my soul on fire. I love you guys so much. Until the next episode, I will see you again. Please, 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 if it feels good for you and you want to hear more of what I have to share, of what we've kind of just touched on, please follow along. Please subscribe. Please leave me a review. I love to hear from you. I want to hear from you. Hearing your feedback and your comments, it helps me know that I'm on the right path in what it is that I'm sharing with you. And it also helps give me inspiration and ideas of what it is you desire to learn more about, what it is you need help with inside your business, inside this industry. As a professional, I genuinely want to support you in every way that I possibly can. So when you write me a note or leave a review or send a message, it helps me know what the next move is, how I serve and support you in the best way I possibly can. With that, you guys, I will talk to you again on the next episode. Thank you so much for listening in to the Savvy Stylist. I love you.